This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hello everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Zombicide Invader. Now, I did a live video on this earlier, but unfortunately the volume was low. So we're just going to go back over it, take a look at everything, talk about some of the new rules that are going to be in effect, and at least this time you'll hear it. So without further ado, let's go down to the table and take a look at Zombicide Invader. All right, unfortunately we already opened this up in the live feed, but the sound wasn't good, but we're gonna just go through everything one more time, make sure you guys hear everything. These are mold tokens, and we'll talk a little bit about them. The rule book here is absolutely fantastic. It's an easy read. I had a chance to go over it. There's going to be 10 missions in here, and of course you're going to have explanations on all the weapons, powered and of course ammoed driven, and just goes through everything that you need it to go through. The real winner here, and we're going to show you those miniatures soon enough, but you're going to get a whole bunch of different type of tiles and stuff like that, and we're going to be taking a look at some of these tiles and how they work and all that. You recognize these are your sound tokens. These are your spawn points, exit, doorways, dice, and more of those mold counters that I was talking about. This side here is actually if you are able to set fire to them and basically burn them out, and of course you have the moldy side on the other side. So, without further ado, why don't we check out some of these miniatures that everybody's been looking forward to taking a look at. And boy, are they fantastic. Of course, you have your fantastic, I really love these things. I love since they put these things in. I really think they make a difference. And as you can see, the player cards fit in. Here, we've got the miniatures. We've got some fantastic stuff, as you can see. The abominations, the tankers here, which are really cool, and we're going to be painting all those up. The endless minions, of course, you get 32 of those. You're going to get soldiers in here, which are really cool, and civilians, as you see. And then, of course, the new addition, turrets and robots, which you can control with your player, which is a really neat and new aspect to the game. Why don't we go down and take a look at the boards and pull out some miniatures and go over some of the cards. Now right here we have some of the weapons and some of the cards. This is going to be the spoiler abomination card. These are going to do different things when you pull them, and you really don't want to pull them, to be honest with you. Also, one of the big changes is that you are going to need oxygen. This is a really key element, and I'll explain that in a little bit. The weapons are a little bit different. This is a power charged weapon, and you can take this out into the vastness of the wasteland, which is basically space. If you leave the science center and go out onto the planet, you'll be able to fire at the enemy with these. But with that said, if you have any kind of weapons that use any kind of bullets, you cannot take them outside of the space station. They will not work in space. Energy cells are going to be powering these weapons. This is another key component that you're going to have to be using, which is very important to have. And of course, you're going to have mold spawns. Remember, we talked a little bit about mold and how that is going to come into play. And of course, as you dig these out, depending on what level, just like the old rules of Zombicide, everything stays the same with Zombicide except for a few additional things. Let's take a look at some of these tiles and talk a little bit some of the things on the tiles that are going to be beneficial to you. One other thing I want to show you really quick is, say you have like a flamethrower and you equip it. Well, you can't use it without a power cell. And the neat little thing on the trays now is that you can slip If you find a canister, you can slip that in there, and that'll show that that's going to power up that particular weapon. Neat little thing. Neat, you know, I really like what they do here and how they just enhance things ever more. And of course, as you know, you need oxygen, which we'll talk about very shortly. Okay, let's talk about some things that go on here. First of all, this here is an oxygen room. You're going to receive oxygen. You cannot go outside the airlock unless you have oxygen. Pretty basic, right? You know, you need oxygen to live outside in space. One rule that I really like that they do is they have something called a concentrated fire. Say, for instance, you get four dice to roll. You can pick a certain target. Now, as you know, in Zombicide, there is a range of targets that you have to take. You're going to go to the biggest, to the medium, to the smallest. With concentrated fire, you can pick which one you want to shoot at. So say you have a weapon that only does 1 damage, but you're going to get 4 dice or something, or 3 dice to it. You roll those dice, and let's just say that we rolled all 6s, which is hard enough as it is. That concentrated fire will take out that particular unit, especially these abominations, which are hard, which it takes 3 hits. Tankers take 2, and of course the regular spawns take 1. Now, if you just shoot in here normally, you know, you have a chance of hitting your guy. Any misses are going to hit your person. But with this concentrated fire, you can pick a target. But the whole thing is if you did more damage than the target that you pick, it does not roll over. It has to be all absorbed in the concentrated fire of the target that you pick. Another thing here is, say we have a couple spawn points here. Every time an abomination moves or comes in someplace, they're going to leave these mold tokens. So as he moves, he is going to be dropping the mold. If ever there are 2 connecting spawn points connected not diagonally but in a line by mold, you will lose the game automatically. Now, you can destroy the mold, and as you can see, you can flip it over, but if an abomination ever came back into that same space, it would be, well, moldy again, basically. That's another new rule that's really pretty neat. We talked about concentrated fire. We talked about how much you need oxygen. One more thing about mold, that if mold, say we have an oxygen room here, ever comes into that room, it destroys that room, and you cannot use the oxygen or search that room for any type of weapon or anything that you might need. There are doors here, and every time you go through a door, you have a choice of actually closing those doors or opening those doors. But everything is open to you in the space station. You will be closing it with the door tokens that we have. And we have certain color ones because certain color ones will come into play. But every time you walk by, you will use an action and you can close the door. Anytime one of the Xenos come through, well, they have a way of destroying doors, especially if they want to come in from outside. It takes a turn for them to destroy a door. So sometimes lowering a door will slow them up a bit. Spawning is just like everything else, and the rules are primarily the same. But I really like the space theme. I like how it feels. I like everything about it. I like the different types of weapons, and of course the miniatures are absolutely gorgeous, and boy, these space soldiers are really cool. One last thing that is a different rule is that civilians can search every single room, but only soldiers can search certain rooms. You'll learn that as you go through the thing. There are 10 missions in the rule book. The instructions so far are just absolutely perfect. There are 2 phases. There is a player phase, and there is a xenomorph phase, and then the end phase. Everything is pretty much spelled out. It's zombified with some really neat and creative rules. So I think you'll really enjoy it. So let's go on top. Let's get on out of here and get my final thoughts on Zombicide Invader. 1, 2, 3. Well, there you have it. Zombicide Invader. It looks fantastic for sure. I had a great time unboxing it, and I've been reading up on it, and I really like some of the things. I like having to find the oxygen so you can go outside. I like the whole mold aspect of it and how the abominations kind of just take it and grow like this fungus inside and actually wipe out rooms because of it. And then the controlled shooting where you can just fire everything you got at one particular enemy. I think it's a great fix for a rule that I always thought that was kind of broken to begin with, but it really enhances it. And plus it's outer space. What more could you want? Zombicide Invader. I'm looking forward to getting it painted up and playing it live with you guys. Only this time we'll make sure the sound's a lot better. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon.